Everyone, let's begin this Retro Ninja Gaming with a song.
A meteor crashed one fateful day to muddle creatures into clay with heroes bent on doing right and twisted foes up for the fight. Clay fighter!
1-to-1 they set the stage.
Clay fighter!
Pounding clay is all the
That
rage.
may have been all to the tale, but Dr. Kiln planned to prevail and re-release the meteor's goo and set more fighters on the loose. Clay fighter! They punch and kick and they do tricks. Clay fighter!
Some are made as hard as bricks.
So Kiln grins from ear to ear, Clay Moto Isle just quakes in fear, but none of our heroes have their way and force the evil goons to pay. Clay fighter! Blow by blow, no turning back. Clay fighter! Living mud on the attack, but who will win the final match?
Alright, with that song out of the way now, welcome properly to the next section, or this episode of Retro Ninja Gaming, where, as you can probably guess, we're gonna play a little clay fighter. In this case, this is actually Sculptor's cut, as you can probably see. And for those that are unaware of the significance of Sculptor's cut, basically the original title, Clay Fighter 63 and a third, I believe, did see an earlier release for the N64, but that was after a pretty lengthy delay on its own, and it had a couple of different things that went on there, namely some cut characters just prior to release, just because they were generally incomplete. The menu was a bit of a mess, and generally, it was not well received as a title. So, a while later, Interplay went back, did some more tweaks to the game, and basically released a special edition, aka Sculptor's Cut here. But I used the term release very loosely, on account that it didn't actually see a proper sales release. What Interplay ended up doing for the special edition here is it was only available as a rental from Blockbuster video stores throughout North America. And while they did have a contest, I believe, in order to win a copy of the game properly, a nice complete copy, for the most part, you either had to have been in the store and somehow picked up a copy when they were liquidating stuff like this, or just pick up one of the odd ones that somehow ended up circulating outside of that main source area. So, suffice to say, this game is not exactly a common one. In fact, God help you if you happen to try to find a complete version of this game or something with a manual, is that will be basically a king's ransom right there. I actually passed by a store downtown that had this game. I'm not going to name it in this case, but I believe the price tag I saw at the time was give or take $400 just for the card alone, which is obscene, by the way. Thankfully, I did not pay that much for this copy, although I paid what I would normally consider an uncomfortable amount for it. But I was able to work out a deal with the place I bought it from just because I'm kind of a regular customer there. And I picked it up as a bit of a lot with a couple of other things all at the same time. So we were able to work out a bit of a deal there. Alright, in terms of how the special edition works here, the main changes that went on the Sculptor's Cut is, for one, the song intro was not part of the original title. That was actually added for this one. There were also a number of characters that were originally removed from the title. I believe the number I heard was 5 characters that got killed or cut from the original title. 4 out of the 5 are available in this version. And I'm going to say, mostly completed. One of them, it's still somewhat of an incomplete character, but it's playable. Or at least can be fought against. The one character that did not make it was, I believe, Hobo Cop, if I remember the source correctly. Which, understandably, Nintendo wouldn't want something like that on their system, so that's the one that still remained on the cutting room floor. There are also a series of gameplay changes, general updates to the combo system and gameplay for a bunch of characters, both additions and subtractions, which is like, okay, some gameplay balancing, that's good. The menus were simplified as a whole, and everyone has a bit more of a customized story mode where they have their own individual bosses and actually a new series of endings and I believe story bits for everyone. So all in all, it was actually a pretty good update in terms of content. Now, in terms of the actual gameplay itself, this is by far not going to be like one of the best fighting games you're going to come across, I'm going to be honest. But compared to the original, it is indeed a nice update there. And all in all, it's enjoyable, but it's not that... But it's kind of not a must-have. Would I honestly say, unless you really wanted to collect a bunch of the N64 stuff and you really must have it, would I recommend going through the trouble to get this game? Only if you find it for a good price, which as you probably heard from the past couple videos, that's usually my answer to a lot of things. But no, I'm actually being completely sincere in this case. Unless you find it for, like, less than half of what I described for the earlier $400 things, no, there is really no reason you need this game. This is basically, if you're getting this sort of game, it's because you're a collector at this point. This is not something to have for casual purposes.
I will destroy you.
Now that I think about it, I should have probably started the whole thing with this. For anyone that's unfamiliar with the Clay Fighter series, effectively it's a parody fighting game series that is meant to make and poke fun at more serious games such as these things in the Street Fighter series, Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters, and basically using a lot of references from not only those other games, but just generally kind of pop culture and media in the beginning. The original games in the series came out on, I believe, on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. Handful of characters. Once again, it kept the general all claymation-based animation style that is very prevalent here for the actual character images themselves, or character graphics. And just to give you an idea how serious things were in the original game, the original end boss was literally called End Boss. So there was always kind of tongue-in-cheek to begin with. The next game in the series, I believe, was C2 or Clay Fighter 2 Judgment Clay. I can't say I'm too familiar with that. I never actually played that second title in the game, or in the series, so I can't comment too much about it. And Clay Fighter 63 in the third, which would be the original game this is the special edition of, is effectively the third game in the series that I'm personally aware of. Didn't sell too well, so they ended up making this special edition, so Sculptor's Cut is meant to improve some of the things in there. But generally speaking, Sculptor's Cut, just because of the nature of how it was kind of put out there to the market, just through Blockbuster really, it never really saw much and was only made in limited quantities. So most people aren't going to be too familiar with this version of the game. One thing I do have to give the guys in Interplay for this game is they certainly had an eclectic bunch of characters for this game. As you can see, footage I happen to have of here, Earthworm Jim made a cameo appearance as a playable character, that could, well, at least a character that could be played through use of code here, otherwise he appeared just kind of as an AI fight. Same thing with Boogerman, also a playable via code there. In terms of characters that were added for this particular version of the game, we had Zappa Yawow Boys, aka the 3 cannibal characters that we saw earlier in the footage here, as an added character. Lady Liberty was added for that, originally one of the cut characters as well, but made for a full character here. Dr. Kiln's separated hand that became apparently a living character or a living creation of its own, High Five, is playable in this game. Although the character itself is a bit on the incomplete side compared to the rest of the cast, only having, I believe, from what I remember, one super move of sorts and no clayality. I think that's what it's called for the finishing move for this game. So it's a little more incomplete, but it is playable in this game. And oddly enough, I had to actually look up a little more of the lore behind this. Lockjaw Pooch was also added to this game, which was a bit of a curious thing, because in previous games, I believe C2 Judgment Clay, it had been joked about this character not appearing because the animal, apparently, the Lockjaw Pooch, had been grievously harmed and effectively killed off screen in a previous game. But, apparently, he got over it, and appeared as a playable character. Overall final thoughts on this particular game here. It's an interesting little tidbit of Nintendo 64 history. The title itself is, honestly, by all means okay, especially compared to the original version. But once again, unless you are a serious collector, especially of N64 stuff, no, this is not a must-own title. If you happen to see it for cheap, however, and think you might be inclined for the future, then yeah, sure. Once again, I have to repeat myself, only if the price is right should you consider this title here. And that's the only reason I have it here and I'm covering it, just because the price happened to be right when I was looking at it. And oh yeah, I forgot. Sana Sumo was kind of a thing in this game. Yeah, I'm not sure how to follow it up, ladies and gentlemen. So I think this is actually a good time. Thank you all for watching. We'll be doing some more of Retro Ninja Gaming soon. This one, I consider this more of a short episode because obviously I'm not covering the full gameplay footage here. Nor do I think I would want to, because we are already seeing much more Sumo Standard than I care to. So once again, stay tuned for more Retro Ninja Gaming soon. Catch you all later. Take care and enjoy your Victoria Day weekend.